Welcome, guys, to another episode. I mean, the first episode. Yes, of a Read with Shreyas. I'm new on YouTube, and today we will be reading the book Flight of the Red Bandit. So let's start. Let's start now. Okay. So, the author of this book is Geronimo Stilton, and the book's name is Flight of the Red Bandit. Dear mouse friends, welcome to the world of Geronimo Stilton. This is the editorial stuff of Rodin's Gazette. Geronimo Stilton, a learned and brainy mouse, editor of the Rodin's Gazette. Thea Stilton, Geronimo's sister and special correspondent at the Rodin's Gazette. Trap Stilton, an awful joker, Geronimo's cousin and the owner of the store Cheap Junk for Less. Benjamin Stilton, a sweet and loving 9-year-old mouse, Geronimo's favorite nephew. Geronimo Stilton, Flight of the Red Bandit. Scholastic Inc. Grandson! Grandson! It was hotter than a scorching bowl of tissue that July afternoon. I was in my office at the Rodin's Gazette, trying to start my new book, but I couldn't think of anything to write about. Usually, I like to write about my real-life experiences. Lately, however, nothing at all interesting has happened to me. So my mind was blank as a cheese of mozzarella. I am sorry. I just realized that I haven't introduced myself. You may have already guessed who I am. My name is Stilton, Geronimo Stilton. I am the editor of the Rodin's Gazette, the most famous newspaper on Mouse Island. Anyway, I haven't had an adventure in a long time. I thought about my trip to Japan with Wild Willie, and the time I saved a beached white whale on the faraway shore. Those were great adventures. Then it hit me. Both of those adventures took place in nature. Suddenly, I had an idea. I could write about nature. What an adventure! These are the adventures. Okay, he had. What an adventure! He was sitting like this and thinking. What about nature? But what kind of nature? Sandy beaches, leafy jungles, peaceful forests. I look outside at the window and sighed. Holed up in my office in Mouse City, the only nature I could see were the sparrows that pecked at my cheese crusts on the windowsill. They were cute, but I didn't think they would make a very interesting book.
I needed something exciting to write about, and to do that, I needed to go on a really good adventure, but nothing too dangerous, because I am a really scaredy mouse at heart. I was lost in thoughts when I heard a loud bang. A mouse pushed open my office door. Can you guess who it was? I'll give you some clues. He's a tall, muscled mouse with thick silvery fur. He wears steel-framed eyeglasses, and he always has a stern look on his face. A very stern look. Now can you guess? I find my inspiration. You guessed it. That rodent was none other than my grandfather, William Shortpaws, also known as Cheap Mouse Willie. Grandson! His voice boomed out. It looked like he was in a bad mood, as always. I I noticed that he was wearing his favorite hat, a vintage cowboy hat. A red bandana was wrapped around it, and a falcon's feather was stuck in it. My grandfather loves his hat almost as much he loves cheese. He has a big collection of hats, but he wears his cowboy hat all the time. The grandfather took off his hat and showed me a hole in the top. "Know why this hole is here?" he asked. "Because I have been wearing this hat for 30 years. Know something else? I need a new one. Want to know one more thing? I need someone to go get it for me." I knew he meant me, of course, but I didn't have time to go head shopping. "Excuse me, grandfather," I said politely. I have a book to write, and I need to find some inspiration." "I'll give you some inspiration," he thundered. "You will?" I asked nervously. "That's right," grandfather replied. "I bought my hat years ago in a little shop. In Sedona, Arizona. It was called the Silver Cactus, and the red bandana was given to me by my friend, the Red Bandit, years ago. He just wears one just like this." "Arizona?" he asked. "I've never been there before." "Oh, it's a marvelous state, and Sedona is so beautiful," my grandfather said. "That's why you will need to find the perfect setting for your next adventure. You will find lots of excitement there." "What makes it so exciting?" I asked cautiously. "Why, the poisonous snakes, of course," grandfather answered. "There are all those spiders." I turned pale. "Yes, some of the spiders are as large as a cheese pizza," grandfather went on, "and don't forget the scorpions." I find my inspiration. Those little guys are just loaded with poison. Snakes, spiders, scorpions. I shuddered.
Grandfather tugged on one of my whiskers. "Snap out of it!" he yelled. "Are you a fraidy mouse?" No, sir," I said. "We will see about that," grandfather said. "You want to call yourself a real mouse?" "Snakes, spiders, scorpions, help!" "I find my inspiration." "Then prove it. See if you can go to Arizona and come back in one piece. I'm sending your cousin Trap with you to keep an eye on you." "Trap!" I exclaimed. "I'd rather go on a trip with Scorpion." Grandfather ignored me. "You will go to Sedona, Arizona, and you'll look for Silver Cactus shop." He went on. "There you can buy me another hat just like this one. To get the bandana and the feather, you will have to look up my good friend, the Red Bandit." This trip was sounding worse and worse. "But I don't know anything about Arizona," I protested. Grandfather showed a guidebook into my paws. "Then read this." Before I could argue, he pushed me out of my office, down the stairs, and showed me to a taxi. "Take my grandson to the airport, and do it pronto." He barked at the driver like a dog. Like a dog was something extra I added. "But I haven't packed," I yelled. Grandfather jammed his hat into my head. "This is all you need." Then he shut the door with a bang that shook my whiskers. "Remember my tiny gift!" "To go find that hat," he said. "Be sure it's the right size, the right style, and the right color. And don't forget the bandana and the feather." As the taxi sped off, I heard his last request. "By the way, will you take the Red Bandit a tiny gift for me?" He yelled. "Trap has it." I stuck my head out of the window and my whiskers waved in breeze. "I will!" "Grandfather," I shouted back. "You call that a tiny gift?" We got to the airport in a half hour, 30 minutes. As soon as I walked in, I heard someone shout, "Geronimo, stop daydreaming and daydreaming about cheese sandwiches and get over here. It was my cousin Trap. I known him ever since we were teeny tiny mouselets. When we were growing up, Trap loved to play tricks on me and tease me. And guess what? He still does. Hee hee, all done. Trap's tricks, pranks, and jokes. Look at this flower. Hee hee. Ah. Smell the perfume. Ha ha. It stinks. Boo! Help! Want a cookie? Hee hee. Ouch! You call that a tiny gift? Geronimo, get the cheese out of your ears. Listen up. Trap told me I need to tell you 3 important things. 3. Thing number 1. Because you always keep daydreaming, Grandfather wants me to keep an eye on you in Arizona. Thing number 2. Grandfather wants me to make sure that you take good care of a tiny gift for his friend, the Red Bandit. Did you know that the hat you're wearing makes you look ridiculous? Then he turned and pointed to something behind him. This is the tiny gift for Grandfather's friend, he said. You call that a tiny gift? I couldn't believe my eyes. The tiny gift was an enormous jar of chocolate cheese spread. It was high as a mouse, but wide as a barrel, and looked as heavy as a baby elephant. You call that a tiny gift? I cried. Holy jeez! How are we going to lug this all the way to Arizona? What if it breaks? Trap shrugged. That's no problem, cousin, he said. Grandfather told you to bring the enormous jar and asked me to keep an eye on you. So if the enormous jar breaks, it will be your fault. You will have to tell Grandfather, and if that happens, I wouldn't want to be in your fur. I will tell you that. Then Trap winked at me. Know what else? I got really in to know what it tastes like. You call that a tiny gift? Before I could stop it, he shimmed up the side of the enormous jar. Then he popped open the lid. The wonderful smells of chocolates and cheese filled the airport. Trap, no! I yelled. Grandfather will be really chased off. Trap ignored me. He gazed down his jar. You got to see this. He called down to me. It looks super delicious. Trap, get down! I yelled again. But it's amazing, Trap said. All the different chocolatey cheesy flavors are swirled together. No wonder it's called Chocolate Cheese Delight. Yay! Sounds great, I said. Now get down! You call that a tiny gift? But Trap wasn't even listening to me. His eyes gleamed. He hungrily licked his lips. Yum, 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 he said. I got to have a taste before I flip my whiskers. Then he stood on the edge of the jar like he was going to dive in. Chocolate Cheese Delight. 13 flavors. Chocolate and cheese flavors swirled together. Milk chocolate, cheddar cheese chocolate, hazelnut chocolate, Swiss chocolate, very dark chocolate, gorgonzola cheese chocolate, white chocolate, mozzarella cheese chocolate, spicy chocolate, cream cheese chocolate, raisin chocolate, stinky cheese chocolate, cherry chocolate. 3 fears and 3 surprises. I grabbed Trap, it's a rhyme, by the tail and pulled him down just in time. I couldn't let Trap ruin the tiny gift for the Red Bandit. If I wasn't watching carefully, he could gobble up the tasty chocolate cheese delight. To be safe, I bought a lock for the enormous jar. As we checked in our luggage, including the enormous jar, we heard an announcement. The flight to Arizona is boarding at Grade 3. And so the longest trip started. We began by flying all the way from New York City across the United States to the city of Phoenix, Arizona. Trap snored the whole way there. It sounded like a train engine in my in my ear. I stared out the window, worrying about three things. Fear number 1, will Arizona be dangerous? Fear number 2, will I be able to keep the enormous jar from breaking before I delivered it to the red bandit? Fear number 3, will I be able to find the red bandit? I couldn't stop thinking about the red bandit. He sounded like a bad guy in cowboy movie. How had he and grandfather become friends? I wished that I knew more about him. All I knew was to start my search in Sedona, Arizona. I read through the guidebook. Sedona sounded like a nice little town. Especially it sounded like the mild climate the book said it had. Maybe it was history of Sedona. The city of Sedona lies in the Vernon Valley of Arizona. The valley's early inhabitants mostly hunted and gathered for their food in 1876. The first non-native settler claimed property there, and others followed. One settler, Theodore Carton Stanley, established a post office there in 1902 and named it and the town after his wife Sedona. Won't be too hard to find the red bandit, I thought. Finally, the plane landed in Phoenix. We rented a truck so we could take the 2-hour drive to Sedona. But of course, Trap forgot to put gas in it. We had to stop in the middle of nowhere. Trap and I had to hike the rest of the way. Guess who had to carry the enormous jar? When we got to Sedona, I had 3 surprises. Surprise number 1. Sedona wasn't a tiny settlement anymore. It had grown into a lively city of more than 10,000 inhabitants. How would I ever find the red bandit? Surprise number 2. In July, Sedona's mild climate felt more like an oven's temperature. Surprise number 3. The enormous jar of chocolate cheese light strapped to my back and was about to boil over. I had to find a way to keep the jar safe or face grandfather's wrath. I tried to shade the enormous jar with a huge patio umbrella. Wow, it's heavy. Entering Sedona. Revelation. Okay. Sedona is located in the heart of Arizona and it is about 115 miles north of Phoenix. It is one of the biggest tourist attractions in the state. Thanks to its natural beauty, it has mild climate, lots of sunshine, and is home to sandstone formations known as red biking, golf, tennis, horseback riding, and excursions in helicopters or hot air balloons. Then I tried to cool it down by fanning it, but that didn't work. So I got lots of ice cubes and then put them on the lid. It was no use. The spread was starting to melt. Trap began to lick his whiskers in anticipation. Curse, we shall eat this chocolate now, right now. Want me to get some bread to spread it on? Trap asked. No. Crackers, no. Cookies, no. No. Okay. Like a redstone repeater is like, no. Okay. Trap said, so we have to just dive in then, right? No, I yelled, getting angry now. No. I have to give this bread to the red bandit, or grandfather will have my whiskers. Luckily for me, Trap gave in. We headed out to find the silver cactus shop that grandfather told me about. Nice howl, cuz. In the center of Sedona, there are lots of shops selling everything from outdoor gear to native American art. Finally, we noticed a curious looking shop tucked away in a dark alley in the oldest part of the city. Squeak, eek, scorpion on the mat. Coyote, hold your bell. The doormat had a picture of a scorpion that looked so real. I jumped back with a loud squeak. Then I rang the bell and I heard the loud howl of a coyote. Ow! At the counter, I heard the sound of a rattlesnake. Rattlesnake. I shook and clarified and Trap chuckled. Nice howl. Boy, did I feel silly? Nice howl, 'cause Trap took notes on the show's clever pranks. Once I had stopped shivering from fright, I showed grandfather's hat to the shopkeeper. The young rodent shook his head. We haven't made this style of hat in years, he said. I'm sorry. My whiskers dropped with disappointment. Well, do you know the red bandit? I asked. He shook his head again. Sorry, never heard of him. Now my ears drooped with disappointment. I was headed to the exit when I heard a loud voice from the rear of the shop. Hey, you! Hey, you! Did you say red bandit? I gazed into the shadows and I saw a big history of the silver cactus. The shop has been made in the Rathhead family for more than 150 years. During the gold rush, it supplied hats to the daring pioneers who came out of the West and found their fortune. Grey rodent with a thick mustache. He wore a hat that looked a bit like my grandfather's. He got up off his chair and walked towards me. My name's Tom Rathhead. He shaking my paw vigorously. Just hearing the red bandit's name reminds me of old times, riding across the desert with him and my friend William Shortpaws. William Shortpaws is my grandfather, I exclaimed in surprise. He sent me all the way to here to buy him a new hat. Tom ripped the hat off my head and looked at the label. He said, stroking his mustache. I remember this sign. We sold the deluxe silver cactus at least 30 years ago. He began to rummage through an old trunk. They don't make hats like that anymore, he said. Then he grinned. Aha, found it. He held up a hat that exactly looked the same as my grandfather's. He had the same silver cactus charm dangling from the red band. Only the falcon feather and red bandana were missing. I hope that the red bandit could give me those if I could ever find him. Tom tucked the hat into a hat box. I tried to pay him, but he refused. Take it to your grandfather William as a token of our old and dying friendship, he said. As for the red bandit, start your search at the Cathedral Rock, that's where I saw him last. Then he looked up, down and down, up and down. He handed me a card with the words Wild Rat Adventures on it. Better talk to these rodents. You're going to need some help out there in the desert. I thanked him and left the shop, eager to continue. I was one step closer to the red bandit. Mr. Skeleton, you're really silly. when I left the shop, I found Trap yawning on the park bench. Cause while you check out that adventure place, I'll stay here and meditate on the situation, he said. And don't forget to take the enormous jar. I wouldn't want to take to anyone. I wouldn't want anyone to take it while I am fast asleep. I mean, while I'm meditating. Wake up! Trap spread out and was flooring in 3 seconds flat. I tried to shake him awake, but my cell phone rang. It was my sister, Thea. So, guys, this is the part 1 of the Red Bandit. See ya. Bye.